The envelope. I never thought that an envelope could destroy everything I believed about my life. It was waiting on my desk that Tuesday morning, cream-colored, unmarked, with my name handwritten in ink I didn't recognize. Inside, a single instruction from my boss. Pack your bags, you have 24 hours. I didn't know then that this envelope contained the truth about who I really was and who had been lying to me all along. Part 1. The weight of paper. The office smelled like burnt coffee and desperation, same as every morning. I'd been working at Meridian Holdings for 7 years, long enough to become invisible, short enough that I still believed I mattered. My cubicle sat in the northeast corner, where the fluorescent lights flickered just enough to give you a headache by noon. The envelope wasn't there when I left the night before. I was certain of that. I always cleared my desk, a habit from my father, who used to say that a clean workspace meant a clean conscience. I picked it up with trembling hands. The paper felt expensive, heavy, the kind of stationery that important people used for important things. My name, Michael Reston, was written in elegant script across the front. No address, no stamp. Hand-delivered. I glanced around the office. Sharon from accounting was microwaving something that smelled like regret. David was already on his third energy drink, his leg bouncing under his desk like a jackhammer. Nobody was watching me. Nobody ever watched me. The envelope wasn't sealed, just tucked closed. Inside, a single card, thick as cardboard, with 7 words that made my stomach drop. Pack your bags, you have 24 hours. Below that, in smaller print, -JTM. James Theodore Meridian, my boss, the CEO. A man I'd seen exactly 4 times in 7 years, always from a distance, always surrounded by people who actually mattered. My hands went numb. This was it, the layoff I'd been dreading, the corporate guillotine finally dropping. Emily and I had just signed the lease on the new apartment. We'd put down a deposit on the wedding venue. Her parents were flying in next month to finalize the catering. 24 hours to pack my bags, to clear out 7 years of my life, to explain to Emily that I'd failed, that I wasn't enough, that her mother had been right about me all along. I sat down hard in my chair, the envelope crumpling in my fist. But something felt wrong. Layoffs didn't come in hand-delivered envelopes with expensive stationery. They came in Monday morning meetings with HR present and a severance packet in a manila folder. They came with sympathetic head tilts and phrases like restructuring and exploring new opportunities. They didn't come with cryptic notes from the CEO himself. I smoothed out the card, steadying it again. There had to be more. I turned it over. Nothing. I checked the envelope again, tilting it toward the light, reaching inside with 2 fingers. My fingertips brushed something else. Paper, but different. Thinner. Folded. I pulled it out carefully, my heart hammering against my ribs. It was a photograph. Old, judging by the slightly faded colors and the thick matte finish they stopped using years ago. The kind of photo you'd keep in a shoebox, not a frame. The image showed 2 men standing in front of a beach house, arms around each other's shoulders, laughing at something off camera. They were young, early 20s maybe, wearing swim trunks and terrible sunglasses. The photo had that golden quality of a perfect summer day. One of the men I didn't recognize. Tall, athletic build, dark hair swept back from his forehead. The other was unmistakably James Theodore Meridian. Younger, less polished, but definitely him. I'd seen enough corporate headshots to know that jawline, those eyes. I flipped the photo over. Written on the back in faded blue inked, Costa del Sol, 1987. The summer everything changed. Remember this, Michael. My name. On a photograph from 1987. I was born in 1989. The walls of my cubicle suddenly felt very close, very thin. The fluorescent lights buzzed louder. Sharon's microwave beeped in the distance, and I flinched like it was a gunshot. This wasn't a layoff notice. This was something else entirely. Part 2. The unraveling. I called Emily from my car, parked in the structure with the engine running and the AC blasting cold air that did nothing to stop the sweat sliding down my spine. "Hey, babe." Her voice came through bright and clear, the way it always did. Emily's voice was sunshine, pure, uncomplicated sunshine. "How's your morning?" "Fine," I lied. "Listen, did anything weird happen yesterday? Anyone come by the apartment?" "Weird how?" "I don't know. Anyone asking about me? Any deliveries?" She laughed, that easy laugh that usually made everything better. "Michael, you're being paranoid again. Nobody came by. Why?" The photograph sat on the passenger seat, face up. Young Meridian grinned at me, frozen in that perfect summer moment when everything changed. "No reason, just work stuff." "Okay, weirdo. I'm meeting Jessica for lunch, but I'll be home by 6. We can look at those centerpiece options tonight, okay? The florist needs an answer by Friday." "Yeah, sure. Love you. Love you too." I ended the call and stared at my phone, at the screensaver, a photo of Emily and me at her cousin's wedding last year, both of us laughing, my arm around her waist, her hand on my chest, right over my heart. Who the hell was I? I mean, really, who was Michael Reston? I knew the surface facts: born in Columbus, Ohio, raised by a single mother who worked 2 jobs and died of cancer when I was 19. No siblings, no extended family. Put myself through state college with loans I was still paying off. Met Emily 3 years ago at a friend's barbecue. Proposed last Christmas. A perfectly ordinary life. Except for the photograph from 2 years before I was born, with my name written on the back. Except for the CEO of a major holding company sending me mysterious instructions to pack my bags. Except for the feeling in my gut, that ancient, primal knowing that nothing about my life was what I thought it was. I drove to the public library on 7th Street, the old one with the stone lions out front and the musty smell of aging paper. The reference librarian, a woman with kind eyes and reading glasses on a beaded chain, helped me access the newspaper archives. "What date range are you looking for?" she asked. "Summer 1987, June through September. Any major news from Costa del Sol, Spain?" She nodded and left me at a microfilm machine that probably remembered the Cold War. It took 45 minutes of scrolling through grainy newspaper pages before I found it. "Businessman's son drowns in Costa del Sol tragedy, August 14th, 1987. The American real estate magnate Theodore Meridian, son of American real estate magnate Theodore Meridian, drowned in a tragic swimming accident off the coast of Costa del Sol, Spain. Christopher Meridian, 23, was reportedly swimming alone near the family's vacation property when he got caught in a riptide. His body was recovered by local authorities 3 hours later. He is survived by his father, Theodore Meridian, and younger brother James Meridian, 21, who was with him on vacation. The family has declined to comment." I read it 3 times. Christopher Meridian, dead at 23. The same summer as the photograph. The same tall, dark-haired man standing next to young James with his arm around his shoulders. The brother James Meridian never mentioned. The brother whose existence I'd never heard referenced once in 7 years of working at a company that bore his family name. I printed the article with shaking hands. Then I searched for more. Everything I could find about the Meridian family. About Theodore, about James, about Christopher. There wasn't much. A few society page mentions from the mid-'80s, a graduation announcement from Princeton, a brief engagement announcement that apparently never led to a wedding. And then, nothing. After August 1987, Christopher Meridian disappeared from the public record as if he'd never existed. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Come to the address below, tonight. 9 p.m., come alone. Bring the envelope." Below it, an address I didn't recognize in a part of the city I'd never visited. I stared at the message until my eyes burned. This was insane. This was how people got murdered. You don't go alone to mysterious addresses sent by anonymous numbers because of cryptic notes from your boss and photographs from before you were born. But I would go, because the alternative was spending the rest of my life not knowing. And I realized, sitting in that library surrounded by the ghosts of old news, that I couldn't live like that anymore. I'd been living in a carefully constructed story, playing a character someone else had written. It was time to find out who I really was. Part 3. The House of Mirrors. The address led me to a neighborhood where money whispered instead of shouted. Old money, the kind that built walls instead of fences and hired people to rake the leaves before they finished falling. The house sat at the end of a cul-de-sac, partially hidden behind overgrown hedges and oak trees that had been standing since before the photograph was taken. It was dark, except for a single light in what looked like a study on the second floor. I parked on the street and sat in my car for 10 minutes, watching, waiting for something to confirm I was making a catastrophic mistake. Nothing happened. The house sat silent and still, like it had been holding its breath for decades. At exactly 9 p.m., I walked up the driveway, the envelope clutched in my hand. The front door opened before I could knock. James Theodore Meridian stood in the doorway, but not the version I'd seen in corporate settings. This man wore jeans and a sweater with holes in the elbows. No tie, no polish. His hair was uncombed, and there were dark circles under his eyes that made him look 10 years older than his 59 years. "Michael," he said quietly, "thank you for coming." "What the hell is this?" I held up the envelope. "What kind of sick game?" "It's not a game." He stepped aside. "Please, come in. I owe you the truth." The house smelled like old books and older secrets. He led me to the study I'd seen from outside. Dark wood paneling, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, a desk that probably cost more than my car. On the wall above the fireplace hung an oil painting of two men, Theodore Meridian, stern and imposing, and beside him, young James, maybe 19, looking uncomfortable in a suit. "No, Christopher, sit," he said, gesturing to a leather chair. He poured 2 glasses of whiskey from a crystal decanter without asking if I wanted one. "You've done some research, I assume." "I found the article about your brother." His hand trembled slightly as he handed me the glass. "Christopher, why did you send me that photograph? Why is my name on it?" James sat across from me, and for a long moment, he just looked at me. Really looked. In a way that made my skin crawl. "Because," he said finally, "I've been carrying a secret for 37 years. And I'm dying, Michael. Pancreatic cancer. Stage 4. I have maybe 3 months. And I can't go to my grave without telling you the truth about who you are." The whiskey glass grew heavy in my hand. Christopher didn't die in Costa del Sol. Not exactly. Part 4. The Truth Between Tides. "We were in Spain for the summer," he began, his voice distant, remembering. "Dad's idea. Bond with your brother," he said. "Learn the business." Except Christopher didn't want to learn the business. He wanted to paint, to write, to live. He took a long drink. I worshipped him. My big brother. Everything I wasn't. Brave, creative, free. Dad hated him for it. Said he was wasting his potential. Wasting the family name. As if any of that mattered. What happened that August? Christopher fell in love with a woman he met at a beach cafe. Maria. She was a teacher from Madrid, spending her summer by the sea. She was beautiful and kind, and she saw something in Christopher that our father never could. James's eyes glistened. They were going to run away together. Christopher had it all planned. They'd disappear, start over somewhere Dad couldn't find them, somewhere he could be himself, but he drowned. No. James set down his glass with a sharp click. He faked his death. The room tilted. "I helped him," James continued. "We staged the whole thing, made it look like a riptide. Christopher and Maria disappeared that night. I told Dad I couldn't find him, that I'd seen him go under. The local authorities were cooperative, when sufficient funds were provided. Christopher's body was cremated quickly. Private service. No questions asked. That's impossible. It's money, Michael. Enough money makes anything possible. James leaned forward. Christopher and Maria went to Argentina, built a life there, a real life. He taught English, she taught art. They had a tiny apartment in Buenos Aires and a balcony where Christopher painted every morning while Maria made coffee. They were happy. Why are you telling me this? James's eyes met mine, and in them I saw something that made my blood run cold. Because 2 years later, Maria got pregnant. And 9 months after that, on a rainy October morning in Buenos Aires, she gave birth to a baby boy. No. They named him Miguel, after Maria's father. They raised him in that tiny apartment, speaking Spanish and English, teaching him to paint, to read, to question everything. They were happy, Michael. For 19 years, they were so happy. My chest felt like someone had parked a car on it. When you were 19, your mother, Maria, got sick. Cancer. It happened fast, too fast. She made Christopher promise to do something he'd been avoiding for 2 decades. Tell his family the truth. Tell them about you. No, I whispered. Christopher came to me. He showed up at my office one day. This man I thought was dead, with a teenage son and a dying wife and a desperate need for the kind of money that could pay for the kind of care that might save her. James's voice cracked. I wanted to help. God, I wanted to. But Dad found out. What did he do? He gave Christopher a choice, a deal. He'd pay for Maria's treatment, the best doctors, the best hospitals, everything. But in exchange, Christopher had to disappear again. Really disappear this time. Permanently. And you? James looked at me with something like pity. You'd be taken care of, given a new identity, a new life, an American life. You'd become Michael Reston, orphaned son of a single mother who never existed. You'd be educated, employed, watched over from a distance, set up for a normal, safe, ordinary life. And if you refused, Dad would make sure Maria never got treatment, would make sure Christopher never saw you again, would make sure you ended up in this system, alone and forgotten. The room was spinning now, the walls breathing in and out. Christopher took the deal. Maria got her treatment. It bought her a few more months. She died believing you'd be safe, that you'd have a chance at something better than hiding. And Christopher? James's voice dropped to barely a whisper. Christopher disappeared. And I never saw my brother again. I stood up, the chair scraping back. You're lying. I'm dying, James said simply. I have no reason to lie anymore. Where is he? My voice came out strangled. Where is Christopher? Where is my... I couldn't say it. Couldn't make it real. I don't know. The deal was that I'd never look, that none of us would ever look. James pulled a folder from his desk drawer, thick, worn at the edges. But I kept track of you, made sure you stayed safe, made sure you ended up at Meridian Holdings, where I could watch over you, make sure my father's deal was kept. He held out the folder. Inside were documents, birth certificate, Miguel Santiago Cordero, born October 23, 1989, Buenos Aires, Argentina. Photographs, a dark-haired woman holding a baby, the same woman, older, thinner, holding hands with a small boy in a park. The boy maybe 7 or 8, painting at an easel while a tall man with familiar eyes watched. Adoption papers, false identity documents, a money trail showing payments to a Michael Reston for the past 23 years, college tuition, apartment deposits, even my salary directly deposited from an account I'd never questioned. My life, all of it, a carefully orchestrated lie. The envelope, I said numbly, pack your bags. 24 hours. My father died last week, James said. The deal is over. You're free now. Free to know the truth. free to find Christopher if you want, free to decide who Michael Reston or Miguel Cordero wants to be. He pulled out another envelope, thicker this time. This contains everything I have, every scrap of information about Christopher's life before the deal, where he went to school, who his friends were, the gallery where he sold his early work, the last known address in Argentina, and a letter. From him to you. He gave it to me the day he took the deal, made me promise to give it to you if you ever learned the truth. I took the envelope with numb fingers.
"I'm sorry," James said. "I was 21 and terrified, and I thought I was helping. I thought I was saving my brother and giving you a chance. I didn't understand what I was taking from you until it was too late." "Does Emily know?" I asked. "No one knows except me and the lawyers who created your identity. It was part of the deal. Complete isolation. No connections to your past." "So everything about me is a lie?" "No." James stood and he looked so old, so tired. "Your life is real, Michael. The person you've become is real. The love you have for Emily is real. The choices you've made are real. The foundation was a lie, but what you've built on it, that's all you." Part 5. Realization. I sat in my car outside that house until the sun came up, reading and rereading the letter from a man I'd never met, but who had given me life. "Dear Miguel," or Michael if that's who you've become, "if you're reading this, you know the truth. I'm sorry I wasn't strong enough to keep you. I'm sorry I chose your mother's life over your history, your roots, your name. I tell myself I made the right choice, that giving you safety and opportunity was worth the cost of never knowing me. But the truth is simpler and more selfish. I was terrified of losing both of you, and I chose wrong. Your mother was the best person I ever knew. She loved you with a fierce joy that made even dying worth it for the years she got to be your mom. She wanted you to know that she chose your future over your past, deliberately, lovingly. She wanted you to have chances we never could have given you. But I want you to know this. You are my son. You are Christopher Meridian's son. You are the child of two people who loved each other enough to leave everything behind. You carry in your blood the stubbornness of your grandfather, the creativity of your father, and the kindness of your mother. These things don't disappear because someone signs papers and changes names. I don't know what kind of man you've become. I don't know if you paint or build or write or work with numbers. I don't know if you're happy, but I hope you are. I hope James kept his promise to watch over you. I hope you've found people to love who love you back. I hope you've built something real. And I hope, if you want to, you'll find me. I will be looking for you in every stranger's face for the rest of my life. With all my love, your father. Below that, an address. Not Argentina. Closer. A small town in Oregon. A place called Maple Creek. Recent. The handwriting shakier than in the earlier documents, but definitely the same hand. He was alive. Somewhere in Oregon. Still looking. I called Emily from the car. "Michael? Jesus, where have you been? I've been calling. I need to tell you something, and I need you to just listen until I'm done, okay?" Silence. Then, "You're scaring me." "I know, I'm scared too, but I need to tell you the truth about who I am." So I did, all of it. The envelope, the photograph, the story James told, the letter from a father I'd never known existed. I told her about Miguel and Maria and Christopher, about false identities and impossible choices, and the realization that everything I thought I knew about myself was a beautiful, terrible lie. When I finished, the silence stretched so long I thought she'd hung up. Then, "Are you going to find him?" "I don't know." "Yes, you do." Her voice was soft but certain. "You're going to Oregon. You're going to meet your father, and I'm coming with you. Michael, Miguel, whoever you are. You're the person I fell in love with. The foundation doesn't change that.
but you need to know where you came from before we can figure out where we're going. So we're going together, okay? I pressed my forehead against the steering wheel and let myself cry for the first time since reading that letter. Okay, I whispered. Part 6. Conclusion. We drove to Oregon 3 days later, took time off work. James approved it immediately, guilt making him generous. We packed light. The photograph from the envelope sat on the dashboard the whole way. Young Christopher and James frozen in that perfect Costa del Sol summer before everything changed. Maple Creek was the kind of town that time forgot on purpose. One main street, a diner with a rotating pie menu, mountains visible from every corner. The address led us to a small house at the edge of town, with a garden gone slightly wild and wind chimes singing on the porch. There was an art studio in the back. I could see it from the driveway. Large windows catching the afternoon light, canvases stacked against the walls. Emily squeezed my hand. You ready? No. Good. Me neither. We walked to the door together. I knocked. Footsteps. Slow, uncertain. The door opened. The man on the other side was older than in any photograph. White hair, weathered skin, reading glasses perched on his nose. But the eyes, those were the eyes from the beach photo, from the documents, from the mirror when I looked too long and too honestly. He stared at me for a long moment. Then his hand came up to his mouth, trembling. Miguel? He whispered, Michael. But, yeah, Miguel. He made a sound that was half laugh, half sob. You found me. I left you a map. I've been leaving maps for 23 years. Tears ran down his face, and he didn't bother wiping them away. I didn't think you'd ever follow one. I didn't know I was lost, until I was. We stood there, father and son, strangers and blood, separated by a doorway and a lifetime of lies that somehow led to this moment of truth. I started. Can we start over? Christopher Meridian, my father, smiled through his tears. I'd like that. We have a lot of time to make up for. We do. He looked at Emily, at our clasped hands, and something like peace crossed his face. You brought someone. This is Emily, my fiancé. Fiancé. He said it like tasting a word in a foreign language. Your mother would have loved that. She always said you'd grow up to love fearlessly. I'm learning, I said. Christopher stepped back, opening the door wider. Come in. Please, both of you. I'll make coffee. Or tea. I have tea. Maria always kept tea, and I never stopped. He was rambling, nervous, this man who gave up everything to keep me safe. I'll make tea and we can talk. We can just talk. Tea sounds perfect, Emily said gently. I stepped across the threshold, and as I did, I thought about envelopes and photographs and the weight of secrets. I thought about James, dying alone with his guilt, trying to make amends in the time he had left. I thought about my mother, both of them, Maria, who gave me life, and the memory of a mother who never existed, and the choices people make when love and fear collided. I thought about Emily, standing beside me, choosing to walk into uncertainty because she loved who I was, whoever that turned out to be. And I thought about Christopher, spending 23 years leaving maps for a son he'd given away, never stopping, never giving up hope. The house smelled like oil paint and chamomile. Afternoon light poured through those studio windows, illuminating canvases covered in scenes I recognized. Buenos Aires cafes, mountain ranges, a woman's smile captured in 1,000 brushstrokes. I painted her every day, Christopher said softly, following my gaze. Your mother? I thought if I kept painting her, she wouldn't really be gone. Tell me about her, I said. Tell me everything. He smiled, and in that smile, I saw my own reflection. The way my mouth curved, the crinkles at the corners of my eyes. We have time now, he said. We have all the time in the world. And as we sat down together, this fractured family built from lies and love and impossible choices, I realized that the mysterious envelope hadn't destroyed my life. It had given me back something I never knew I'd lost, the truth of where I came from, and the choice of who I wanted to become. The instruction had been clear. Pack your bags. You have 24 hours. I'd packed my bags. I'd made my choice. I'd come home.